Welcome to the David Spisak Show, the #1 retail automotive podcast in America. Now, today's episode, I think you're going to love it. It's called, don't kill me, it's called Stop Limiting Your Used Car Sales. Now, you might be sitting there and saying, okay, that's ridiculous. Why? Like, I can't even imagine why would I limit or restrict my own used car sales. But here's the reality. If your store's used car volume is stuck, if it's kind of flatlined, if it goes up a little, down a little, and at the end of the day, if it falls short of your expectations, the reality is it's not the market. It's limits that you've put on what you buy, how you price, and who you target. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to show you the data, the market differences you're ignoring, and a very simple, proven, validated playbook to unlock 20 to 40 more sales per month and possibly more without adding a single salesperson or spending $1 on a buy center or advertising. So I hope I got your attention. Let's go ahead and jump in. So first, let's take just a quick pulse check for 2025. And I'm not going to start with used cars. Ironically, I'm going to start with new cars. I'll tell you why in a moment. But nationally, 2025 is tracking currently to be slightly ahead of 2024. Toyota and Ford are running neck and neck at the top. Now, you might be used to hearing Ford and Chevy, and that would be correct if you're talking F-150 and Silverado. But I'm talking collective sales. Chevy, Honda, Hyundai, and Kia are all doing very strong, doing well. And Subaru is about 7% of year-to-date sales. And by the way, I want you to remember that number, 7%, because when you think about used car sales, they oftentimes mirror new car market share. All right. Now, Tesla is in the mid-single digits, and that's overall a macro picture, but nobody sells cars to the United States average. You sell to your zip codes. Bottom line, you sell to your used car market. And by the way, think about this. No matter what new car franchise you have or franchises, in each case, when it comes to the new car side, regardless of how big your market is in terms of land size or population, you have a built-in restriction, limitation. Let me tell you what it is. For example, if Subaru is your franchise and Subaru has 7% market share, no matter what you do, you're not going to turn Subaru into 15 or 20% or higher market share. Now, you may in some markets, Pacific Northwest, for example, or the Northeast, be much stronger with Subaru. Other markets, say in the Southeast or Arizona, maybe are a little bit weaker. But you're not going to be able to transform your market share in that way. Now, before I move on to the used car side of the picture, let's talk about EVs. And I know, the EV federal tax credit is going away, it's gone already by the time you hear this, whether it's a new EV or a used EV. But new EVs, while I believe they're going to reduce by approximately 30% in volume, they're still going to represent at least a fair percentage of overall new car sales. Now, right now, they're 7 to 8% in the first half. I think they're going to end up landing overall maybe 8 to 10% when it all shakes out. In California, EVs are about 21%. In Texas and Florida, you might not be surprised. EV share is lower, while pickups and SUVs tend to dominate. So how does that translate for you? It means your inventory recipe, your inventory mix must change by market. It needs to be ideal based on your market. It has nothing to do with national. So if it has nothing to do with national, how does all of this apply to your used car sales efforts? And what do top performing used car sales organizations do to fully leverage this data and their results? So let's first dive a little bit deeper, and I will show you why this matters. And by the way, mastering and maximizing your used car results never has and never will be a matter of focusing or mastering just one thing. You must learn to master every single aspect or element of your used car operation to not only win, but to win big. Now, what are those elements? Well, one would be focusing and determining my ideal inventory. 2 would be acquisitions. 3, reconditioning. 4 would be pricing. 5, merchandising. 6, maximizing your sales turn. Very important. And number 7, it all leads and dictates your profitability. So go to disruptivegrowthsolutions.com and click on videos in the menu, and then select Use Car Solved button, and you'll find just an incredible amount of on-demand videos that actually touch on each of these 7 aspects of your operation. Now, more importantly, the people on those on-demand videos are literally the best and the brightest, the highest performing new car franchise and used car independent used car operations in the United States today. And what's cool is they're actually willing to share their secrets that you could put to work immediately. Now, let's move forward and let's talk about regional contrasts you simply can't ignore. In California, for example, nearly 1 out of every 5 new vehicles is a full electric vehicle. Hybrids add another 18%. And not surprisingly, Toyota leads the way, and Tesla's EV share, even though it's slipped as other EVs have gained because we're getting more and more into the marketplace, Tesla is still rock solid as of now. We'll see what happens as we move forward. In Texas, man, you're in pickup country, and maybe even pickup and SUV country, of course. Texas leads in pickup volume, no shock. And Q1 showed that Tesla registrations, just by contrast, in Texas, while they were down in California, they were actually up in Texas. That's kind of crazy, right? But they were starting with smaller numbers. So if you're restricting your acquisitions to a couple of import brands, let's say, in Dallas or Houston, because you happen to be a Toyota store, a Nissan store, a Honda store, a Hyundai store, you're ignoring what shoppers actually buy because you're ignoring that entire pickup market or SUV market. Now in Florida, just to consider another market, they have a huge pickup and SUV base as well, and they're in the top 3 in terms of EV volume, which is kind of hard to believe in Florida being what that state typically focuses on, which is mostly ICE, obviously largely Republican. But of course, not surprisingly, they do not have a California level EV mix, although it is growing. Whether that continues remains to be seen now that we don't have those federal tax credits anymore. Subaru, I mentioned Subaru, and just as an aside, nationally, I said they're at 7%. But again, it depends. If you're in the Northeast and the Northwest, if you're in Colorado, they're going to over-index that number, and they may under-index it in those Sunbelt pickup markets or perhaps in the Southeast. So the important bottom line for you to consider is don't let a national share number drive your local results or identifying what you should be carrying to maximize used car sales. Now, if you're interested in learning how your state stacks up against these numbers, and more importantly, how you should structure your used car department for maximum results, it's easy. Simply send me a DM on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me at either davidspisak.com or disruptivegrowthsolutions.com. Now, next, hold on to this one. This is important. And chances are maybe you've never heard this before, but it's what I refer to as the restriction tax or the limitation tax. Now, what is this? Well, it's a quiet cost that most stores pay, and I refer to it as either a limitation or restriction tax. Now, the worst thing is that the vast majority of dealers have zero idea that they're paying this every single month. And by the way, let me get this on the table. If your results do not meet your expectation or those of your dealer 1, 2, 3, or multiple times this year, you simply have the wrong plan. You have 2 choices. You can keep that wrong plan and continue to hope somehow it's going to render a different result, but you're likely to continue to get the underperformance you've been experiencing. Or you can get a proven winning plan and make more money today and every day going forward. And that's not just for your dealership, of course, it's for you as well. Now, about that limitation and restriction tax, it shows up, whether you want to or not, it shows up anytime you say things like, well, we only buy Toyota or Hondas under 60,000 miles, or, yeah, we don't touch EVs, or we never stock domestics in our store, or we just want to focus on our own brand, or even worse, I'm only going to focus on my own brand and only certified pre-owned. The result of this, well, unfortunately, it's fewer appraisals, it's fewer acquisitions, it's fewer units you can price to the market, fewer sales, and more time to line per car because we're waiting for unicorns. We're waiting for those handful of cars that fit my very limited focus because I'm only going to sell BMWs, I'm only going to sell Lexus, I'm only going to sell Mercedes, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, or Nissan. The bottom line is you have taken your entire used car market, the potential market, which is this big, and you've literally shrunk it down to maybe just 10, 15, 20%, maybe a little bit more of that total market. You did that. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't interest rates. It wasn't acquisition availability. It's you. But here's the good news. That means you can change that. And many stores are figuring this out. Many stores have listened and taken this advice. They've taken my plan. They've put it into place. And it has worked every single time. Now, of course, everybody gets different results, and that's based on many things. It's based on personnel. It's based on execution. It's based on process and discipline. Everybody gets better, though. And I want that for you as well. So what do the top used car operations do? Bottom line is they open the funnel. So instead of having this funnel or these limitations on models or limitations maybe even on how far they will go to acquire a car, they open up every channel every day. Carvana and CarMax have taught our consumers to sell their cars online. The play is to localize that model with a very aggressive instant cash offer, marketing fast appraisals, and a retail-first disposition so you don't bleed gross in the lane. And what does that mean? It means, in other words, if you continue to over-rely on the auction like most stores are continuing to do, hard for me to believe considering that we consistently end up with a bad outcome, but if you continue to do that, you're going to get killed with auction fees and transportation fees that inflate the costs, adding zero value to the customer, by the way, as well as longer times to the front line, and ultimately and typically either a low, no, or negative gross profit that drives your used car department to lose money. Let me be clear. I'm not anti-auction. Let me be clear. I think there's absolutely a place, and an important place, for auctions in the country. And by the way, some of those same top-performing used car operations, they do buy cars at the auction. Here's the difference. It's not 50, 60, 70% of the used car inventory. Can't afford to do that when they generally render negative outcomes. But they do use it to find specific vehicles, to fill in holes, and to be able to continue having their used car inventory at a specific level, but never abandoning their chief strategy, which is widening that funnel to get more appraisals, more acquisitions to drive their used car sales up. So if you want to break this cycle, here's what you need to do. First, determine your ideal inventory, or what I call the 2025 Shoppers Top 20. Now, if you want a practical stocking list, the used car market's top movers are full-size pickups and compact utility vehicles. F-150, Silverado, Ram, RAV4, CRV, Rogue, Equinox, Escape, as well as stalwarts such as the Camry, the Civic, the Corolla, and of course, believe it or not, the Model 3 and the Model Y are genuine, real players now in the used car market. Think about this. The average used car selling for $24,000, $25,000, you can buy a 3-year-old Tesla Model 3 for $21,000, $22,000 oftentimes. I saw Nissan Ariya, a pretty recent model in the market for under 20 grand. What other used cars that are 3-4 years old can you get in that price range? And here's what's something that's kind of crazy to think about. We've known for years that EVs cost more than new cars, typically 15, 18%. I believe they're still at somewhere around 18% higher than a similar model in an ICE vehicle. But you want to hear something nuts? On the used car side, they're 8% lower. Yeah, those Model 3s that used to be 50 grand, 55 grand or higher, we're seeing people buying them for $21,000 or $22,000. By the way, I'm going to throw a quick little plug in here for Plug.io, which is created by what used to be the head of remarketing for Tesla. I had him on a podcast a few weeks ago, Jimmy Douglas. Hats off to you. He's created a marketplace that if you don't want to deal with EVs, you're afraid of EVs, but you want to sell a car to somebody who's trading one in, you could hit up Plug. Just look up Plug EVs. I don't know what the website exactly is, but look him up and he will literally pay cash for that car. He'll be happy to take it off your hands because there's other people that do very, very well for them, and that's actually good for you. So, here's the important takeaway. If you're determining what to buy or target as your used vehicle inventory based on only what you've been selling, that's a huge mistake. Please stop. You've been selling those cars because that's what you have in stock. It's a self-fulfilled prophecy. When you're looking for ideal inventory, you really need to base it on search, not sales. So here's an 8-step playbook to stop limiting your sales and acquisitions. First, you got to create a local demand map. So I want you to build a zip-focused want list by segment, trim, drivetrain, colors, using day supply and VDPs and SRPs to help drive the way. By the way, many customers that I work with, in fact, the vast majority of them use Cars Commerce. They have a tremendous tool that's built in that allows every one of those dealer clients to be able to see what people are searching for in their market right now and what's starting to kind of fall out of favor or get lower on the list, if you will. Number 2, you've got to open that funnel. You got to open that buying box. Approve broader makes, broader miles, price bands, but still having guardrails on reconditioning caps. In other words, if you look at CarMax as a best practice, so to speak, one of the decisions they make to determine on day one when they acquire a car, whether they're going to retail or wholesale, is whether it has profitable or unprofitable reconditioning. What does that mean? Maybe the car is the right trim, the right make, the right model, but based on the reconditioning that's needed, it would render it to not be viable when it comes to VDPs, or ultimately they know it's going to turn into an unprofitable deal. What do they do with those cars? They wholesale them. Who do they wholesale them to? Dealers. By the way, if you've been buying cars from CarMax, I'm not going to tell you not to, but just like any other auction, you got to make sure it's the ideal inventory. Next, you have to open up and really build a killer direct from consumer engine. So you have to have an always on, sell us your car across search, social, CTAs, website, and you got to quote, this is important, fast, transparent, and accurate appraisals in under 10 minutes. Don't forget, if you're an independent or a franchise used car dealer, you are competing not just with Carvana and CarMax, but with the expectation they've set in the minds of consumers today. Without even taking their car into the dealership, they can get a fast, seamless, transparent, and accurate appraisal that they feel they can rely on. Talk to the next 100 customers that you see and ask them, are you familiar with Carvana or CarMax's appraisal process? Ask the next 100 people you see out on the street, what percentage trust that process? It's nearly 100%. Ask that same group of 100 people, do they trust a dealer's appraisal process? It's not going to be 100%. It's going to be nearly the opposite. But we simply have to leverage what they do, take lessons from what they do, and deliver that fast, seamless, transparent appraisal process. By the way, if you have an old school used vehicle tool, That's not going to get the job done. So I mentioned Cars Commerce. Obviously, they've got a great tool out there. Also in AccuTrade, it is an acquisition powerhouse. One of the biggest reasons why when I talk to clients is they have the ability to send a link via text, social, or email that allows somebody to go through that same exact process as CarMax or Carvana. That's how you build confidence, and that's how you build trust. Next, this is critical. You got to appraise everything. 100% appraisal rate is our target on service lane and inbound. That means trade-ins, and that means write-ups, and that means internet. Now, will you hit the 100%? Probably not, but I'd rather focus on 100%, come up short at 70 or 80. You're still going to be doing better than 90+% of the dealers out in the country. Don't forget this too. Don't just appraise everything, buy everything. Many dealers still only want to focus on buying certain vehicles. It's a mistake. What you don't buy, what you buy, you don't have to keep. If it's ideal inventory, keep it, retail it, and make great money. If it's not, wholesale it and make some really good money. And keep in mind, when you make wholesale, that's not only going to be gross profit, but very oftentimes for dealers, it actually has a net profit impact as well. Next, number 5 is Recon velocity. What does that mean? It's simply, come on, man, we're so far overdue to fix our Recon processes. I still see most dealers at 5 to 10 days on Recon. It's crazy. You only have 15 days to make maximum gross profit and 30 days for most dealers to make a positive gross profit. So how do I fix that? Well, you have to get in front and wrap your brain around a better Recon process. You want to learn more, DM me on LinkedIn or reach out to me in any other way. I will literally give you the blueprint for doing that. Number 6, price to market from day 0. That's right. Start with the lowest quartile in your competitive set. Set your markdowns based on day, age, VDPs, leads, and write-ups. If you're not getting VDPs or you're not getting leads and write-ups, you've got to reduce that price. And by the way, by the time you get to day 15, you're going to think I'm crazy, but data will tell you I'm not. By day 16, you better be at or near number 1, the lowest price in the market, or you're not going to maximize your VDPs. And if you don't maximize VDPs, you're not maximizing your chances of selling that car profitably. Number 7, you've got to merchandise the trust. That means having real reconditioning checklists, using something like Carfax, having some kind of a reasonable return policy like the disruptors do, and a payment-led creative. Last, make sure you do your daily huddles and look at your metrics. Look at your appraisal closing ratio. Don't just look at how many cars you acquired to appraisals. More importantly, how many appraisals did we do versus our write-ups? That's the most critical number in the acquisition process. Also, look at your cost to market. You've got to know if you're in a market where the average car is being sold at 24 and your average cost is 26, yep, that's driving slower turns, lower gross, and a lack of profitability for your department. You also have to look at that time to line, your price to market percentages, your VDPs you're getting per unit or per day, of course, your aging buckets. And last but not least, I don't subscribe to 30, 60, 90, or 30, 45, 60. For me, it's very strict. It's 15, 30, and then 45 or out, meaning wholesale. There are cars that I have for less than 30 days that will absolutely positively be wholesaled at 20 or 25 days. That makes no sense. Really? Well, if I have low or no VDPs after I've marked the car down 3 times, listen, it's always either the wrong car or the wrong price. If I've taken the price down to the minimum, there's only one other option. It's not the right car for that particular location. Get rid of it, get the capital, and redeploy it on something else that your customers will find far more compelling. So restrictions or limitations that we placed on what we buy or what we appraise used to make us feel safe. You think you're protecting yourself, but the reality is it's very expensive. And in 2025, when you consider the state of new cars and where we're going on new cars, it's getting more expensive by the day. The stores that win expand their buying scope. They engineer their inventory to local demand, and they price not to maximize an individual deal, but to maximize velocity. If you do this, you're not going to just sell more. You're going to create literally your own consistent acquisition flywheel. And when that happens, magic happens. So thank you for taking the time to listen. I appreciate it. If you know somebody else who's interested in reinventing, blowing up, getting rid of a used car blueprint that just has proven itself to not work, and you want to replace it for yourself, or you want to share this with somebody else so they can learn how to do this, please take the time to share this episode. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join me. Please subscribe and download if you'd be so kind. And of course, I always love your reviews, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. No matter what, I learn from all of them. And so I appreciate that so much. Don't forget, if you go to davidspisak.com, you'll find show notes. And in those show notes, I literally will list sources that you could cite, that you could look at that has been the sources of my inspiration or sources of the facts that I used in this particular podcast. And if you want to reach out to me, again, DM me on LinkedIn or connect with me at davidspisak.com or disruptivegrowthsolutions.com, and I will be happy to put in your hands a used car acquisition blueprint, as well as some other resources that you could use immediately to start leveling up your dealership, your used car operations, and for once and for all, demolishing those used car restrictions that have held you back. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time on the David Spisak Show.